showing up. We're officially live.
This is so exciting.
Yeah, it's like I get to do another live today.
Live? Another live?
Oh yeah, I do it with Oshi Reads and Bookish Wallflower all the time.
But did you do one today?
Oh no, not today, because
okay.
Today's been a fun, stress-filled day.
Oh.
I took a nap before this just so I could get ready. I was like a little kid. I was like, I'm gonna take a nap first so I can come back and talk about books because
just so nap.
Easier.
I'm gonna turn on the light.
Okay. We have one person watching.
Oh, cool.
Waiting for everybody else to come through.
I'm good, even if it's just us two. Let me just do
yeah, it's Oshale.
Hi, Oshale.
Yeah,
did Oshale read War Girls? Did she read War Girls?
I don't know. Oshale, did you read War Girls yet? I can't remember.
So how do you see, is she chatting on, how do I see the chat?
Oh, okay. So go on YouTube and go to my channel.
Okay.
And you'll see our live, and then I just mute our live and look at the comments. And no, she did not read it yet.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm the creator of this broadcast, I see all of the conversation on StreamYard, but everybody else has to look at it from YouTube. Google Hangout was so much better, but YouTube took it away from us. And so this is the best we've found so far.
And there's a bit of a delay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there we are. Hi, Oshale.
Isn't this cool?
I don't hate you. I love you.
Like, I truly believe Tochi is one of those authors that, like, he has a specific audience. So he's what happened?
I've never read any of his work. This was my first.
Oh, really? See, I read Beast of the Nation and Beast Made of Night and Crown of Thunder. I read both of those. I loved both of those. Yeah. So I knew this one was coming out and I was like, gonna buy it. And now I'm like, he might have quickly gotten onto my auto buy list.
Ooh, that's a big deal.
Yeah. He gave me enough to keep me entertained. So it's like, it's certain things. I'm like, okay, we're gonna do this. But
cool.
You want to just get started? They'll show up when they show up. Oh, I forgot. I have to do a special introduction. Hi, guys. Thanks for coming to my channel. Today we are here with Onyx Reads to talk about War Girls, which is the newest book by Tochi Onyebuchi. I have lots of feelings. So we're just going to get started because we plan to only be on here for about an hour. So we're going to see if we can stay in that hour frame. So I'm just going to ask you.
Should we start from now, like an hour from now? Or an hour from when we were
start an hour from now because I need all the time. I need that whole hour.
Yes. So
do you want to give the premise?
Sorry?
Do you want to give the premise of the book?
I want to read the back.
Oh, yeah, that's perfect.
I'm not good at it's the decade is changing and I need to affirm in the positive. I am improving my ability to provide synopses. But in the meantime, I'm gonna read the back. So the year is 2172. Climate change and nuclear disasters have rendered much of Earth unlivable. Only the lucky ones have escaped to space colonies in the sky. In a war-torn Nigeria, battles are fought using flying deadly mechs, and soldiers are outfitted with bionic limbs and artificial organs meant to protect them from the harsh radiation-heavy climate. Across the nation, as the years-long civil war rages on, survival becomes the only way of life. Two sisters, Oni and Ife, dream of more. Their lives have been marked by violence and political unrest. Still, they dream of peace, of hope, of a future together. And they're willing to fight an entire war to get there. From acclaimed author Tochi Onyebuchi comes an immersive, action-packed, deeply personal series opener. Ooh, a series opener.
Oh, it's a series opener? Yes!
For fans of Nnedi Okorafor, Marie Lu, and Paolo Bassi Galuppi. So that's the synopsis. Do you want to add anything to that? Do you feel you're dancing because you know it's a series?
I didn't know this was the first in a series. Okay, I'm already satisfied. I didn't know that. Oh, that's great. Okay, let me calm back down because I'm like, I needed more story, and they're gonna give me more story. Actually, that was a good synopsis. On the back of my book, all it says is, in a post-apocalyptic Nigeria plagued by violence and political unrest, two sisters dream of peace, hope, and the future together. That's all it says. Yeah. It's interesting the different editions that come in, but mine's short.
I got this as an arc, so that may be the reason why. But yeah. So I thought we would start off first by just talking about anything that we need to just get off our chest before we get into more in-depth questions. So generally speaking, did you like the book? And if so, why?
Well, I love any story where it's about females doing non-traditional female things. We had female soldiers, we had females in like engineering and STEM. Like they weren't doing traditional stuff. They were doing everything that my little heart could desire. I mean, the flying the mech thing.
Listen.
I was like, this is almost like, what is the name of that cartoon? Voltron.
Mm-hmm.
This is giving me Voltron vibes. I'm here for this. So I thoroughly enjoyed the book. I love a sister story. I love when it's a different love represented instead of the typical romantic love being the main focus. That's like sister love and best friend love are my favorite kinds of love. So I was like, okay, this story is going to rip my heart out a couple of times. It sent me on multiple roller coasters because there were certain chapters where I felt like I needed to finish the chapter to make sure that something bad wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
And the other chapters, I was like, okay, this is just building up to another really intense scene, and then it's going to calm back down again. And then we're going to freak out for 2 seconds, and we're going to calm down again. And then at the end, I was just like, I'm going to bed. Like, you did all of that just to leave me here? I'm going to bed. And I went to sleep. What were your thoughts?
I definitely loved it. I loved this. I loved the novel. I agree with what you're saying about the fact that the protagonists are two females, two African, like continental African, Nigerian, Biafran females. And so I definitely appreciated that. And it took a while for boys and men to be introduced into the plot. So we actually got to engage and see these young women in the context of other young women. So their sisterhood existed in the context of a greater and broader sisterhood. So it was wonderful to see them see their ability, because they built community. They created really complex community together as girls. There's interdependence there. There was an appreciation for their skills. So it seemed like the girls were really forward thinking in their community, and so I really liked all of that community piece. And I think it set up a really good backdrop to what happened later in the story. So for me, by the time we got to some of like the action, the first part of the action, I had already fallen in love with the community, fallen in love with the girls, loved what they built. I felt protective over what they had built, and I was invested in their success. And that made a lot of the decisions in the plot, the different plot points, really heartbreaking for me as we went through, because and I think you felt this too. I really felt that I was hurt. Like I was really rooting for a lot of the characters. So like I really loved that. I started thinking of, have you ever seen the movie Pacific Rim? Like,
yes.
So that's
what I thought too.
Yeah, so that's what I thought in terms of what the mechs were. And I like that we weren't really given too heavy of a description of what the mechs were and what they could do. Like we
Right.
got enough for my imagination to fill in the rest, right? So I think Onyebuchi really showed a trust for the reader in that, like, you know, he led me to this world of mechs and synths and AIs, and I love all of the different kinds of technology we engaged with.
Right.
So that was really cool, but there was still a place for my imagination to play. I liked the racial politics of the story. So a lot of the times in sci-fi, you get an overemphasis on whether it's tech or, you know, tech magic or you know, the physical environment. But I felt like here we actually got to learn about Nigeria and Biafra, and I've been in community with Biafrans who identify in 2019 to be Biafrans. So it was kind of nice to get that African futurist element of it in there. I love that the story included white folks and included Asian folks, but not as central figures in the story. And so they were literally sidelined, and that was satisfying for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I like the racial politics of it. I agree with you. I loved the different types of love that we saw, added to what you said, the intergenerational love, and chosen family, because in war times, like, you know, who is your sister? Is your sister your blood, or is your sister the person you fought with? You've repaired their body, you have wanted to see them grow, you care for their future, you'll sacrifice yourself for them. Like, how can that not be sisterhood in all, you know, in all of the ways? So I loved how resilient the girls were. I loved how instinctive they were. I loved the fight scenes.
Very visual.
They were really really, really smartly done. I love that there wasn't sexual violence, because I found myself bracing for that.
Me
right?
Too.
Yeah.
I was really sitting there like, Jesus, please don't let this be a rape scene, because I don't know if I can finish this book if it's a rape scene.
Yeah. So anyway, I just like named a bunch of different things, but it was thoroughly, it was so rich. The story was so rich.
Yep. It was just like, oh, Tochi, thank you. Thank you. Because some of my other most anticipated reads of this year did not hit the mark. But this one, I felt like I watched an entire movie.
Yes.
And like at the, you know, the end scene where that part happens, if I was watching that on a movie and it had just turned to black, I might have actually cried.
Yeah.
Because I'd have been like, are you serious right now?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, he got my emotions going. This is why he might be on my auto buy list, because I just also, because of the cover. So, you know, the cover, I never realized it that she had the bionic arm, and like that's the first thing we start off with in the book. So because of this picture, I could basically visualize every time she showed up because of this picture. And I'm just like, I could imagine her. And then because I felt like Ify was her sister, like I know that they were technically from opposing sides, but the love that they had for each other was so strong. I had created a completely new image of Ify and her older sister that trained her. I had visuals for all of these different women looking all different types of ways, but all together in one community. Yeah, Chinello, all of them. I felt very connected to all of them. I was very heartbroken multiple times in the story. I felt way too connected to certain characters, and the ones that I wanted to know the most about, I didn't get the chance.
So can we talk about that? Because I want to go there too. Hi, Amber.
Oh, look, Amber, Ted, Shane. Hey, guys.
And is there anybody else? So I saw Amber.
Yes, we have Ted, and we have Luxurious Blue. Hey, Boo. I haven't heard you forever.
I'm sorry, you might.
No, you're fine.
And I get onto.
Yes, we're giving you the streaming life, so you'll become addicted and want to stream more.
Sorry?
I said we're gonna get you
Okay.
used to the stream life, so you can want to do them more.
Yeah, that's a thing. That's thing that needs to happen more often in my life. Okay, so hi Ted Ryan, hi Shane, and
Yeah,
I think that's all we can
we
see for
have
now.
Oshale helping with moderating our chat room.
Oh, Oshale, bless you. Thank you. Also, I miss all of you, and I I love you.
I can't wait for BookNet Fest next year. I have
Can
so
we
many
talk
ideas.
about, like, can we just have a moment that, so everybody in like YouTube land, there was a moment in the hot tub, and it's not like that, but it was like just it was love, but not that kind of love. It was
Right.
like black, bookish, hot tub, chatting love. And I was just like, I'm like, I need these people in my physical space every single day of my existence. And I
Yeah.
just say that I love all of you. Okay. That being said, let me get back to this. Okay, top chat. Thanks for moderating. Okay, here we are. There we go. Okay, so tell me, who did you need to hear more about? Who did you want more from?
The droid and Inyumeka? Why can I never say
Anyamaka.
Inyumaka? Chinello.
Yeah.
The one sister that they didn't really get along, but I can't remember her name.
Ngozi?
Yes, her. For
Mhm.
some reason, I feel like if I got more of her, because the only antagonists between them were the opposing side. Like
Yeah.
in a sister community, there is one girl that you butt heads with, but at the same time, that's usually one of your best connections. So I
Yeah.
was like, man, I think I just really I wanted to know more of the sisters. I wanted
Yeah.
to feel like I belonged in the community by knowing all of them.
Yeah.
And I'm thoroughly convinced that the android, I was like, I don't know what kind of science went down in there, but I felt like she was real. So I actually didn't realize that I was reading her in the first interlude until midway through. And I was like, she's alive. She's alive. I was like, okay, yeah, I felt like, um, of course, the two main characters, I felt like we got a lot of them because they're the main characters. But their side partners, their love interests, their other sisters were such a vital part of who they were that I didn't get enough of them. And I just was like, I need more of them. I want this whole community flushed completely out. I told him on Twitter he could do a mini series and just go ahead and give me like all of them and I'd be satisfied.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like give me the war from all their perspectives. That would actually be really cool.
Yeah, I mean, we got two origin stories ish, right? So we got a bit of an origin story um for Oni and for Ify, but it didn't really get fleshed out for the other characters. And I think that how they all got together, I'm into building community, so I would have liked to see how they started.
Mm-hmm.
And where did they get all of that knowledge, right? So Oni built Onyamaka. So how did Ani know how to do that? And just yeah, I would have liked to hear more, and maybe we will hear more. Like I wanted to hear more from. Okay, so okay, and also let's just talk about spoilers. So I'm not very religious about spoilers, but I feel like um,
They
can we
know
just
in our lives, spoilers are a thing. So they know.
yeah okay
You can't have a good discussion without spoilers. It's
yeah
just
so
I just normally say spoiler alert before I say it, and then the people who don't want to, I guess they can mute it, and then if not, we go on.
Also, can I just say, because I didn't say this at BookNet Fest because I was too busy being freaked out about all the stuff I had to do that wasn't related to BookNet Fest, but I think there was a panel about spoilers, and I just want to say something to the people about spoilers. I feel like as a Black queer woman just walking the earth, that I don't really get to control what comes my way. Like, I have to manage.
Yeah.
And so there's something kind of fragile about spoilers that I can't I can't get
Or the
behind.
trigger warnings in the beginning of the books.
Yeah. Like there's something a little bit too like I need other people to control my environment. I need them to do certain things or not do certain things so that my environment can feel safe. And that's just not a reality that I live and walk with.
Yeah.
And so I assume that I need to take care of myself, and I assume, and I'm happy when people do that with me, but I would never think to say, can you please not talk about this because it'll hurt my reading experience? Like that's
Yeah.
a positionality that I'm not really used to and I don't respond well to. So I try with spoilers because it's a cultural thing, but I also low-key don't care. So
Oh my gosh. Like, so my therapist has an Instagram, and one day earlier this week on her Instagram, it said, your triggers are your responsibility. It isn't the world's obligation to tiptoe around you. And I literally wanted to take that and just post it on book Twitter. But I knew if I did, like, it would be chaos that I didn't like dealing with. But you aren't the only one who feels this way. We're going to get you on one of our other, when we do a chat about booktube things, we're just going to add you in there one day and just.
That would be really nice.
Freaking fun because you said something that we all were thinking.
Okay, cool.
Like, you were not the only one who felt that. We were just like, stop being so sensitive.
Yeah, and also, and the other thing about it is that spoilers, and I learned this from Brody, from Etu Brody, because at the mixer, they said they had a rant video about spoilers and queerness, right? And yes, Shane, I'm about to preach, but I'm preaching what Brody taught me. So they were saying that about own voices, that if you're focusing on like I want to read only own voices LGBT writing, well, not everybody's out. So just because somebody isn't out and they don't tell you that they're queer, you don't necessarily know that they are or aren't. So if you're all like I only read own voices trans stuff, then that means you're taking a position where you have to force other people to come out in order to like support your agenda, right? And so I kind of feel like that a little bit about, yes, triggers help you grow and change. They also help you set boundaries and things like that and communicate with other people. And I don't read things the same way, right? So I might think that somebody might be like, it's a spoiler for us to say that there's a deep love between Oni and Chinelo that develops throughout the novel, right? And like, I mean, I saw that in the first time.
Yeah, I got that the moment they went on that walk. I was like, oh, okay, there. Okay. That was very obvious.
Yeah. So it's hard, to require me to see the world through your eyes and like the royal you through your eyes, and then to create a conversation about a book that doesn't get you clutching your pearls. That's hard. So anyway, that's my little PSA on spoilers. So I loved the love relationship, the many dimensions of it between Oni and Chinelo. I loved how they were comrades first and foremost. I loved how their love was not tentative. Like there was no like, oh, I'm conflicted. Like, do I want to kiss her? Yeah, of course you want to kiss her. You also want to protect her, and you also want to survive. It's all happening. So there was a really nice partnership between them that I would love to see translated onto the screen. Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. Since only like the PTSD, the drug addiction, they're addressing all the different aspects of what war does to a person, but they're bringing it to the aspect of these 15, 16-year-old girls. Like, and all they want is just love and safety. And you're just like, I want you guys all to have this.
Yeah. I wanted to hear more. I wanted to hear more about, so there are a couple of transitions that felt quick and underdeveloped for me. So Chinelo moving from soldier to like chief whatever she was.
Whenever they did the super time jumps.
Yes, the super time jumps for sure. Like, because the thing is that like, yes, Chinelo has always had those leadership qualities, but how did they go from being sort of captured, manipulated to join the Biafran, resistance run by men? How did she go from that to
Right.
being then the chief strategist, right? Like that was something that I wanted to hear more about. Ted, I see your point about triggers. I want to get to that in a second. And then also um, like the transition of Ify, right? So she's captured, she drops out of the plane in this cocoon, and then we see her 4 years later fully integrated into Nigerian society as basically like this, engineering tech ingenue, who gets to be the shadow of like Darren throughout, right? So her
Right.
leap into privilege, I wanted to see that more. I also wanted to see Akweke and more about Akweke and Oni and their relationship as well.
Okay, so wait, I forgot which sister is this sister?
So Akweke is the one who trained Oni, and then
Yeah. Okay.
ended up
In
living in that
the
hut.
house.
Sorry, my thing's about to die. I need to plug in. But um, that, and then the whole plot to manipulate Ify that Darren, you know, did.
I,
I want to know more
I wanted
about
to
that.
say I wanted us to just have a whole Darren discussion because
Yes, that
he's
was creepy.
okay. Thank you. I
Yeah.
felt very disturbed by most of Darren, and I was genuinely concerned that in the 4 year gap, it was going to turn into some weird like, oh, she loves him and worships him like on a sex. It was so Darren. Darren is the perfect male to be introduced into the story to show how the children were manipulated throughout. Because I didn't really know much about the Nigerian War. I've read um, Purple Hibiscus, but
Mm.
this is literally my only second book about the Nigerian War, and that both of them is all about like a lot of male manipulation and what they normally do to the girls. And instead of rape, she was basically brainwashed. So it was like, Darren gives me the creeps and not like, okay, he saved her life, but was this his plan the whole time?
That's the question, right? Like that's where I wanted to hear more from him. I didn't mind that he took backstage because I really enjoyed the men. Like, let's be honest. How many times do we see Nigerian men taking backstage in stories? Like when I read African science fiction, Nigerian men are almost always forefront, right? That's
Right.
what I've encountered. And so this is one of the first stories where I've seen them take the backstage. We see that in Nnedi Okorafor's work, like that men take the backstage as well. So in Akata Witch, we see that. We see that in Binti as well. But apart from that, when it's written by men, when it's fiction written by men, it's very strange to see the boys and the men be secondary characters throughout. So there's a part of me that was like, look, in order to have gotten more backstory with Darren would have had to be more of a central figure, and I don't know that I would have like wanted to sacrifice that
That's
female
true.
centered in order to get that story.
He can give me a
Um,
novella.
yeah, we could do
Give me
that.
a Darren novella and I'll be satisfied. Like,
Yeah, and it's weird, even like religion, right? So how Islam was
oh, I
woven
forgot
into
about that.
the manipulation. Like she's converting and she gets adopted, and that language, like I will love her, I will protect her, I will hold her close, I will give my life for her. Um, they're like, "Do you want to be a Muslim, Ify?" And she's like, "Yeah, I mean, I get sure."
Yeah, it was
Right?
like in
Like,
a moment of absolute weakness and vulnerability, it was like convert now or die, basically. It's just
yeah.
like, okay. Like, so, because that wasn't revealed until the end, until after she was captured. That's when we learned what actually happens in the beginning of
Yes.
her kidnapping. I don't even know what
Rescue.
to call it, kidnapping or rescue. Even she didn't know, and it worked my brain to where even I was stopping. Like, is this considered a rescue if he took her away from her loved one? Like, she didn't know about what happened to her family. So that was her sister. Is that considered rescuing just because her skin is lighter? So she obviously has to be Nigerian. Is that real? I was like, ooh, colorism. We are addressing so many issues in this book.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciated. I appreciated that. I appreciated that, midway, I wasn't sure if there were any villains or who the villains were. I'm like, is Ani a villain? Is Tochi gonna do this to me? Is Tochi gonna bring me to love Ani and then dash Ani into yeah, right? Is that gonna happen?
What I thought was gonna happen was that the demon of Biafra was going to just get wiped out at some point, and that we were gonna be left with Ify realizing, like, going through and ended up like meeting like one of the sisters in the future. That's what I thought was going to happen, because I was like, they have to eventually have some kind of connection later on in the future. Otherwise, this can't be a sister story. But what kind of connection are we talking here? Prisoner of war or what?
So you know what okay, so I think that Tochi Onyebuchi is a master foreshadower. And that moment when Oni is walking down the path to Akweke's hut, and she sees a scorpion and was it a crab and a scorpion walking together on the sand, and their paths don't intersect, right?
Wow. Yep. I know what you're talking about, because I thought that was such a weird thing to mention. And I was just like,
yeah,
okay, there's a scorpion and a crab. Okay, sir. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm going to find that because I need to mark that.
Yeah, I was like, okay, so we're just being told that something is going to happen, and they're not going to end up back together, but something will happen. I thought that was good. Okay, so Ted, I said I was going to get back to what you were saying. So Ted says triggers are definitely important, especially if you're looking for representation or a heads up on a subject matter you want to avoid. I've only seen a handful books with my disability, and very few were actually good. I like I remember going to this talk about trigger warnings in the academic context, and the question was, should professors, especially when it's professors of the arts, provide trigger warnings, or is encountering difficult subject matter part of the learning experience, right? And I don't know that I have an answer to that, but I definitely, I know that there are some topics that I would like to know about. So, for example, I just recorded a review of a book called Tentacle, and the N word with a hard R is used often in the story, and the author is not Black, and the author is Latinx queer author. And so for me, it was hard for me to actually get through the whole story, and I did because there was a lot of trans representation and magic, and it was okay for me. But it would have been nice to know sort of early on that I was going to have to deal with some massive anti-Black racism in the book, right? And so I think I'm of two minds there, but I appreciate that. Yeah, looking for representation, or if you need to take care of yourself while reading, it can be very helpful to know that there's going to be a difficult topic coming up. Like, and I've seen booktubers, when they've done reviews, they've given those trigger warnings, which can be quite helpful. What are your thoughts on trigger warnings, like when they're useful to you or when they're not?
I think when a book has marginalized groups in it, I think it would be like, oh, this book has trans, this book has people of color. I think those are not necessarily considered spoilers. It's when it's like, this book contains violence and rape and sexual assault. It's like, so basically I'm reading the book just anticipating the rape, basically, instead of enjoying the story, because I'm basically like, oh God, when is she gonna get raped? When is she gonna get raped? When is she gonna get raped? So me, I personally don't like spoilers. I feel like if you get to a point where you feel triggered, you need to stop yourself. Because again, I agree. I'm with my therapist when I'm like, it's not everyone else's job to police your triggers. If something triggers you, take a step back ask yourself why it triggers you. Is it something that's hindering your everyday life? Is this something you need to go get help for? Like, blaming a book for your triggers is just not where it's at. Now, if it's saying this book has a good representation of a particular disability, like for Ted in this instance, that's great because that helps him figure out, oh, wow, this is a book that I can actually identify with. But the ones where it's specifically telling me what's going to happen in the book, I'm not. And I understand some people really genuinely feel strongly about this, but I actually disagree with that 100%. I feel like if you're so focused on a trigger, it's not the book that you need to be worried about. It's the fact that you probably need to be looking for help. Like, that's what therapy is for. There are different ways to work on yourself. Getting mad at an author for not putting your trigger in the first part of the book is just not it. That's my nicest way I can put it because that's just genuinely how I feel.
I think also in terms of money, right? That's where, and I'm not sure if it's trigger warnings so much as content warnings, but if I predominantly buy books, I don't use libraries. Unfortunately, that's something I want to change in 2020.
It
But
saves
if I'm
something.
spending my coin, right? If I'm spending money, then yeah, I do want to know, because my spending is political, right? So I buy books written primarily, predominantly by Black folks, and I like to focus on Black queer folks. So, and I want to spend my money in those areas, and I don't want to spend money in other areas. And so I don't want to spend my money on an author who is not going to treat my people well in their stories, right?
Right.
So had I known with that in Tentacle or in some of the other stories that like Black bodies would not be cared for consistently, I would have either gone to the library and not paid for the book or not read it. And I think that's where the content warning stuff plays in, because I feel violated when I get 3/4 of the way through the book and something happens that's really wrong. I'm like, I gave you 30 of my dollars or 15 of my dollars, and I could
Right.
have invested that in an author that is interested in uplifting my people. I'm not talking about making Black folks into villains. I'm completely fine with that, but I'm talking about the lack of care for Black lives, and Black queer lives and Black trans lives. Like if your book is killing off trans people and they're completely disposable, you don't get my money. And so
Oh my
I
God.
rely
Is
on
that how that
reviews
book
for
went?
that and things like that. Sorry.
I said, is that how that book went? It claimed to be a book about trans and they were just killing them off?
I have a review on it that I'll put up at some point, but I
Okay.
just it was a disregard. So in that book, I'm talking about Tentacle. In that book, like literally the first page, in the first page, a dark skinned Black man is like disappeared violently, and we don't get any help for that. There's no resolution to that political order. It's just context. And I'm like, I'm done with that. I don't want that. You can't have me reading something like War Girls or the fifth season where we're dealing with like apocalypse or war times, and and the authors are taking care in how they introduce violence to us and how they treat the reader well. But if you're just gonna like pop somebody off for no reason
Yes.
and cause them harm and be really gritty and brutal about it with no satisfaction or resolution, that just feels like harm. And I would have liked to know about that. Other people might have other readings of that book, but it was difficult for me.
Would you have liked it to specifically say violence against trans, or would you have been okay with it just saying this book contains extreme violence?
I don't know. Honestly, like as I say everything that I'm saying, I'm not sure what the resolution is, because honestly, I haven't seen trigger warnings or content warnings on books, at least that I've noticed in the blurbs. Like the blurbs might say something, in this gritty world full of violence and destruction. I'm like, okay, cool. We're going to see a little bit of violence, a little bit of destruction. But I haven't actually
I've only
seen a
seen
lot of
them in
trigger
YA
warnings.
books.
Sorry?
I think I've only seen trigger warnings in YA books. I haven't read any
Okay.
adult fiction books with trigger warnings.
Okay.
And
Okay.
even then, they're like at the bottom. It'll be like one random page in the beginning, or it'll be down here, like, does contain something at the bottom.
Oh, okay.
So I've seen
Yeah,
that.
I
I've seen
haven't seen
book quiz,
that
but
yet.
not an adult. I've seen it only in YA. And to
Right.
be honest, most of book Twitter is YA focused. So I guess that's why they would focus more on that. But man, I don't
Yeah.
know. Would I have liked the trigger warning in this book that it was going to be some extreme violence? I don't know. I feel like I was watching a movie. So even when the violent
I
parts
didn't.
were happening, I was like, oh my gosh. And I just kept, it was such a, it wasn't gory and it wasn't something unbelievable. I guess that's maybe why I didn't react so negatively. It's like it happened, my heart broke, but I still needed to keep going because I wanted to make sure everyone else was okay.
Absolutely. I thought it was appropriately done. This could have been a lot more gruesome and gory and violent, and it wasn't. And I think that it's not to say that Tochi Onyebuchi took a light hand with the violence. I don't think that he did, but it was still. I think it was enough, right? Like it was enough to
Right.
know that people be getting killed. And I mean, it's also called War Girls, right? It's war, so that should be enough, I think, to let us know that we're gonna get, you know, war.
I mean, she's
Like
literally has
people,
a full cyber arm on the cover
yeah,
and like
yeah,
I also
yeah.
oh, that was another
Hide
thing I wanted
rate,
to say. I really liked how in the beginning of the book we meet Onyi. She's fixing her arm. They kind of like allude to like she lost it during the war, but they don't necessarily say how. So a lot of the
yeah,
explanations were told after something else happened, and then it was like it brings back memories, and I'm like, oh, okay, so he's using like their PTSD basically to tell their story, and it shows how
yeah,
impactful that was because she's still reeling about how she lost her arm. I don't know how many years go through in this book, but years later, she's still like, "That's the
yeah,
man who took my arm. I hate him." And I'm just like, "Dang."
yeah,
Also, how the only thing I'll say, pretty convenient that the guy that rescue kidnaps Ify is also the guy that takes her arm. But I was like, I'm gonna let you have that because I felt like having them have that kind of connection made their final battle very movie-esque for me. So it's like, okay,
yeah,
I'll do that. But it was very convenient. And
yeah.
his sister
It got
was
tidy.
also an
I was like,
interesting plot point.
um, I want to say hi to Rachel. Rachel Ray is online. Hi, Rachel. Nice to see you.
Hi, Rachel.
Also, your hair looked really good in your last video, Rachel. Hair on point. And Annie Johnson, I'm late by hey Annie. And yes, Ted. Oh, you just yeah. So I listened to War Girls on Audible, and
Oh,
the narrator was excellent. The
she's
narrator
actually
was
one of my
excellent.
favorite. She's one of my favorite voices on audiobook. So I didn't know that the audiobook was out. And then when you said you were going to listen to it via audiobook, I went to look it up, saw it was her, and I was like, oh, I'm not reading anymore. I'm just going to put my headphones on. She's one of my favorites. Her voice, she does men's voices well. She gave me a distinction enough between the different girls so I could tell the difference between them. And this is all still one person. So I was like, okay, give me a full cast with one voice.
There
Highly
were
recommend
times
it.
when at the
Sorry.
end of a chapter I was like, is this the same person? Is this the same narrator? Like, she was speaking in her lower register sometimes, like the speed, everything. It was really well done. And when you had the girls like arguing and bickering with each other, when she got into that like Nigerian, like the kind of like
Yes.
Niger, not like obviously we didn't get any pigeon or anything like that, but when they were joking with each other and like kata kata, like I was like, oh my god, I love hearing these words. I love the rhythm of it. I love the playfulness of it. And that it really helped me understand the story from an emotional level better. I actually listened to it and read it together as much as I could, and that was nice. I want to ask you a question about AIs becoming sentient and AIs as a metaphor for indentured servitude and slavery. So let's just, I just wanna,
because my least represented character that I actually felt was a genuine person. Oh, and Agu, also another one. You notice that both of them kind of had the same kind of development. I was just, Agu gave me moments where I was not happy with him or with his death either. But I just found it ironic that both of them died protecting the same person. So it was like, like I can never say her name, Onyemeka. She was created by Onyi. Yeah, she was created by Onyi, and Agu was made for her. So I was just like, so I don't know how to take it versus AI because was Agu basically AI? The way that they described how they were put back together, wasn't he more AI than he was human? Because they had to learn how to show the emotion so that it could look more realistic. So the more he showed it, the more realistic his emotions became. So I'm like, didn't they use the same kind of technology for both of them? And also, am I delusional? But did they not create their own little Android society, or was I delusional while I was reading that?
They basically, so my sense was that Anyamaka was found and healed by what is her
I
name?
never remember her name, but I'm gonna call her
the Chinese aid worker.
Yes.
Right? So Anyamaka is healed, and then Anyamaka is like, okay, I have orders. Like, oh, and I loved the ritual, the burying ritual, all of that.
Yes.
Going back and
Uh-oh. 1 second, guys. Okay, hold on. Your sound just dropped. Okay, say something.
Has unmuted me. Oh.
Okay, now you're back.
I just got a phone call. I don't know how to do this. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I cannot hear you. So let me see. Alex, okay. Should I leave and come back in because I can't hear you? Because I got a call and I can't hear you.
Yeah, go ahead and leave and then come back and I'll put you back in.
I read your lips. I think you said leave and come and you'll put me back in. Okay.
Yes. Hope everybody's having a great day. We're pausing temporarily. Today's a great Sunday. It's always awkward when you have technical difficulties and you don't want to end the live. So we're going to keep talking until she comes back. I think that she... I'm glad that everybody's having a good day while we wait. Feel free to write whatever you want in the comments. I'm just reading them. I'm enjoying our little conversation. We need to get her on more lives, right? I don't know what's going on outside, but oh, it hasn't come back yet. Oh, also, since we're waiting, what books is everybody reading? Because I am currently on chapter 22 of Children of Virtue and Vengeance. And after this, oh, she's back-ish. Okay, wait. What to say? Oh, am I continuing the live with you in the chat? Because I'm trying to. Ooh, Shadow Shaper. That's on my TBR, I think. Children of Blood and Bone, the audiobook is really good. Secret Commonwealth. Ooh, what genre is that? You always say some good books. Let me just pull out my phone and just keep continuing my long list of TBR books. Mm-mm-mm. Okay, why did it not come up? Oh, Shalane, we have to get you back into reading. You created an entire book club. So we kind of need you to get back into wanting to read. Also, as usual, I should point this out. If you haven't thought of picking up a Tochi book, this is a good one to start with. Also, he did do Beast Made of Night and Crown of Thunder. That's a duology that's really good. Highly recommend that one. Okay, so what was the name of that one? Secret Common Worth is a dark adult fantasy. The Book of Dust series is a continuation of. Oh, I didn't even know there was a continuation of that story. Okay. Rachel's currently reading the autobiography of an ex-colored man and the toll. Okay, wait. And no, I don't see you. It just shows me in the thing. Hold on. Hold on. Oh, there we go. You're back. Got you back now.
So I was whining about you not letting me in, but I hadn't scrolled down where it said like press this button to enter the broadcast, and I'm like, Brittany, come on, stop sleeping.
I was like, you're commenting on here, but you're not. You haven't joined back. Am I doing this by myself? It's cool. I'm just posting everyone's thing. Oh, I have The Forgotten Girl, and I need to read it.
We might have to buddy read again.
Yes, because man, when I got the book and she sent it, I was like, oh, I'm gonna read it, and then I got really, really bamboozled in everything. And there's so many books on this list. Thanks, guys. You added to my ever long, never getting smaller TBR. Thank you.
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, maybe we should do a group read of The Forgotten Girl, because it seems like
we should.
And like sort of like a booktube, like booktube supporting our own kind of thing. I have a feeling it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Are you trying to come in? Okay, she's good. Yeah, so maybe we should think about that.
I think we should do a group read for The Forgotten Girl and have we can just have a big. I don't know how many people can be added into these lives, but we'll figure it out, because that would be a great discussion. And just praise, because she did it and she's one of us. And like, you wrote a whole book, and she did the whole book tour while pregnant.
Wow.
I could meet her. Yeah.
One of those things alone is gonna be enough. So Shane, you're reading The Stars and the Darkness Between Them, or The Blackness Between Them, with Sajid. Woo! That, can you guys live whatever your
do something together? That would be great.
I need to see Shane and Sajid together.
Can you guys do a live buddy reading where like you both just get on live and you read for like 15 minutes and then you stop and say your thoughts? I would watch that.
I want to see that too, because y'all both be salty and it's just perfect. It's perfect.
Cool. I haven't read that book yet, only because we all know that I'm very I make jokes about love stories all the time. Like I read love stories so that I don't feel left out of discussions, but I have to do them spaced out because it's just not my thing. I'm like, oh look, another teenage love story. I'll pass for now. I'll come back to this.
Yeah, but you're probably like, these are queer love stories, and so they're fraught, right? Like, I feel as though I don't read a lot of romance unless the romance is showing up in some kind of science fiction background. Like, I do not read romance. I have no problem with people reading romance or romance novels per se. Like, I'm good with that. But for me, the romance needs to be a part of a larger project, right?
Yes.
And I find that at this point, because there's such a dearth of queer romance in novels, any queer romance in a story is going to have a tension that's going to be both familiar to me and unfamiliar to the community. And so for now, while it's rare, I'm like, yeah, give me 2 Black girls in love. Because what other book?
Cannot think of one other book where that is the main focus. Cannot think of.
Exactly. And if you can, then it's definitely not going to have an immigration story. It's definitely not going to have magical realism, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yep.
Brittany, like, yeah.
It's on my list. It's on my list.
Good.
When I get back in the mood to read a contemporary, it's one of the first ones I'm going to read, because I've already been told by multiple people I need to read it, and they're like, "We know you don't like love stories, but you'll be fine."
Yes.
I will read a love story. It's just I prefer a violent book like I just read.
There's violence in it. You'll be fine.
Oh, see, wait. If this is the kind of violence where I'm reading it and I'm like, why would you do this to a child? Then okay.
No, it's the violence of homophobia. It's like the societal pressure. No, read it. Just read it.
It's on the list, man. Like next year for the book club, Oshale and Choi are going to be picking out romance books for me to read. Like I'm debating on what month I'm going to do it, but I'm going to read only romance for a month.
Good.
And see how I survive, because I'm not mad at people for reading romance. I just prefer that my romance be trickled in after a major battle scene or something.
Got it.
Versus like being the main thing, but we'll see how I make it. I haven't decided.
So Shane is going to coordinate with Sajid. So thank you for saying yes to what we want. Can you, those of you who are in the chat, like we're sort of rounding off on the hour, but if you have any questions about War Girls and about what we thought about the book or anything like that, can you add them in and we'll try and get to any questions before we end. Have you read The Teenage Love Stories by Beverly Jenkins? That's from Abominable Book Girl. Have you read them?
Is that I feel like I know y'all well. I've never read. I don't read love stories. It's just one of those things I've just never. Even when there was a very small area of book reading that I could do, I always wanted to read about somebody traveling through time over somebody falling in love.
Cool.
But that one is on my. I'm sure that I'm gonna get one of those books in the list when I give Troy and Oshley the opportunity to pick my TBR. I'm sure I'll get one of them.
So Ted said, I do like love stories or romance, but when it's written bad or lacks depth, I tune out. Same here. And then Shane, doesn't it have magical realism in it? Brittany, you might enjoy that aspect of it. So that's the stars and the blackness between them. And it does have magical realism.
Oh, it does? See, look, that's a great way to get me into it. Tell me it has magic. It jumps my list very quickly. He's right.
Yeah. So you're not going to come against a word. So hi, Bookish Wallflower. Wallflower or Wallflower?
Oh, that's Troy. Yeah, Bookish Wallflower.
Is Troy?
Our little community is so cute. I start knowing names now. Like, oh, this is great. Okay, sorry.
So yeah, any questions about War Girls?
Yes. Would anybody like to know anything?
Isata?
Oh, yeah, I pronounced her name wrong. I asked her how to pronounce it. Isata. She,
Isata, that's a beautiful name.
yes. I'm trying to think. I had a question earlier.
Let me flip through because I took notes.
I have one scene that I want to talk about. The one scene of the book that I felt was the best scene of the entire book was the scene where the part where they're trying to expose all the other world's countries for inputting themselves into the Nigerian war that they claimed they weren't going to be a part of, but they were fueling the weapons. And that entire scene, all the deaths, all of the I was like, because that's a scene, a major part of what happened in the history books, and it was very nice to see it rewritten in a futuristic form.
Yeah.
And at the same time gave Darren, like, we had another encounter with Darren. Also, I will say they did not explain why Darren's mech moved so much faster than the mechs that they stole. Like, why was he in a super mech? Basically, like, they just never they said it. He killed people and then they just left it alone. And I'm like, so we're never gonna know why or how he got this super mech.
I think we're gonna find out, but yeah, I did notice that for sure. I noticed that for sure.
Then it was like, so did he not have the super mech when he finally challenged Oni? Were their mechs equal again? Like,
I feel like Oni said, how is he moving so fast in the final battle?
I can't remember. I know they were all basically screaming that when they were doing that battle, but I don't remember if she said it in the last battle. I don't remember because I didn't mark it. But I was thinking that while I was listening to him, I'm like, so are their mechs equal now? Because I thought he was gonna I really thought he was going to kill her.
Right. So did I. I was worried. And multiple times down like that.
Multiple times I thought that she was gonna die.
Yes, I feel like she did die multiple times. Do you want to do a sound circle where like we just flip through and read excerpts that we really liked?
Oh yeah, I haven't done one of those on a live before. Let's do that.
Okay. So I'm just gonna start from and then we can alternate. I'm just gonna start. Oh wait, attention reader. Is this a trigger warning? Oh no, that's just saying it's an arc. Okay, so yeah. So I'm a fan of world building. That's obviously with science fiction. That's the thing that's the most important to me. So I'm reading from page 4. Wind whips about her, engines scream overhead, and Oni looks up just in time to see aerial mechs, massive humanoid robots with green and white stripes painted on their shoulders, screech through the sky, as they've been doing for the past year. Shoulder cannons and thrusters attached to their compact bodies, state-of-the-art nav systems, yet they can't detect the rebel Biafran camp right under their noses. As long as the signal dampener they rigged to hide this outpost from the Nigerian authorities is up and running, they're safe. The government forces can't even see the rebel flag waving right below them, a blue background with half of a yellow sun in its bottom, golden rays radiating outward like lightning bolts. I loved that. I also loved half of a yellow sun. That was repeated. Isn't that the name of
Yes. I was like, it's yes. Yeah. It's one of her books. And they say it so casually that you're like, I was like, yeah. I see what you did there.
And Tochi also uses the phrase "who fears death" or "somebody fears death," which is Anedi Okorafor nod. Yes. And there are a couple of those sprinkled through, and I was like, Tochi, I love you.
I'm gonna meet him and just be like, I enjoy reading your book. You leave Easter eggs in your books, and that also makes me happy. Let me see. Oh, okay. So I have one. It's on page 22. It's when Ify and Inyameka are walking back after she skipped class. And it says, as they head back through the forest, Inyameka is silent and stoic. Ify looks up at the android. When Anya goes through your logs at the end of the day to see what I've been doing and where I went, can you erase the part where we went by the beach? If she finds out I skipped afternoon classes, I don't want to make her angry, and I don't want her to find out about my accent. Can you please? For a long time, Anyamaka is silent. It seems like she's sad. Almost. She speaks to Ify silently through her accent. You're asking me to erase things that I've touched and heard and seen, the data I have accumulated and added to my core. That's when I was like, okay, so they're giving her human moments. And I'm like, I stand. Like,
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
that was when we figured out she was turning, I'm not even going to say turning human. I'm just going to say that I don't even know what to call her on. I still don't know what to call her, honestly. But
neither do I, and I think that's part of the point. I also liked the when we get introduced to Nigerian society, we start to see the distinction between augments and cyberized people, which was an interesting like commentary on class. You know, like,
yeah, in
and
a
so
weird way.
I really sorry.
I said, yeah, in a weird way, it was I didn't even think about that being a classism thing.
So I liked that. I also liked that the only romance that we got was queer.
Oh yeah. I mean, and it was done in such a way that I didn't even roll my eyes, because normally in fantasy romances, they happen like overnight, where it's like, I hate you today, but tomorrow you're my everything. So normally I roll my eyes, but this one, I felt like it had been something for so long that when it happened, it wasn't a shock. It was like, oh, okay, it's about time. Okay. Well, y'all are cute.
So did your
Awesome.
eyes So did your eyes roll all the way out of your head and onto the sidewalk when you read Children of Blood and Bone?
Look, let me point this out. I love that Children of Blood and Bone is basically Avatar: The Last Airbender meets Nigeria. But when I tell you, I literally put my book down and I was like, so let me get this straight. 0.25 hours ago, y'all were just fighting in the woods. And now y'all are in love? I was like, I was like, you could have literally chopped this whole section of the book out and it would have been outstanding. But yes, no. I hate Anan. I hate his character. He's a terrible Zuko. And I hate the fact that Zele had to have a love interest at all. I was perfectly happy with Zayn and Amari's flirtations, and she ruined it by making Zele weak for a dude who literally wanted to kill her 2 pages before they kissed. So I could go on a whole rant.
Yeah.
Whew, man,
Yeah.
I was pissed. I just knew there would be mortal enemies the whole book. Amber agrees. Me and Amber already talked about this.
I loved also. What's that?
Oh, Amber just commented, girl, because we talked about this very recently. We're like, we loved it, but enough.
I like that Tochi didn't shy away from the discrimination between the different nations. So on 63, we see Ify's eyes go wide with bewilderment. This isn't a beast, not some type of hairy animal, not like what she was taught Nigerians looked and sounded and smelled like, but it's clearly an enemy. What kind of animal are you? Maybe if she can get its name, she can study it, learn it, find its weaknesses. And here she's talking about another human being, right? So that was really cool. Don't fall for Inan. I love it. And so what else? Maybe just a few more, because I feel like there's oh, and also the technology. So her accent, I thought that was a really interesting. It reminded me of in Binti. Did you read the Binti trilogy?
Yep.
It reminded me of the Idam, right? Like this technical creation that comes straight out of the mind of the author, that you're getting to know it, right? It's technology that's foreign to us. And so the only way we can find out more about it is by competing. So I like that.
Actually, this scene goes on for multiple pages, but I just want to talk about the scene. So I love the fact that in this book we talk about the main focus of the story is actually about child soldiers, but it's not said over and over that it's like child soldiers, child. No, like we get glimpses of child soldiers in every part of this book. But when Effie and Darren go to the, I don't know, detention facility, and she's talking to the little boys, and he's like, "Oh, I can't wait to see the roses." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Oh, the roses will come." And she realizes that the roses is actually splatters of blood that go on the wall after people are killed. And I was just like, when I read that, I was like, "Oh," it's like,
Yeah.
what? I was like, thank you for addressing
Yeah.
things that children who have been forced into war, these are the kind of issues that they're going to have. Thank you for addressing it in a way that was very well done, but left me speechless at the same time because I was genuinely grossed out when the realization hit that that's what he was talking about. But that went on for
Yeah,
multiple pages.
and there's a similar scene where the kids playing, they're making these like, blah, 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 ta, 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 ta. And then like after she realizes, oh, okay, they're mimicking gunfire, right? Like
Yeah.
I think he deals with trauma well.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the introduction of therapy. You talked about therapy a lot in our chat so far, and Sifang
Yeah.
was doing therapy with Agu, and that freaked me out because I'm like, why has she called Agu into her trailer by itself? What are they doing? And then he comes out with a different look on his face. I'm like, do not tell me, right? Because I'm like bracing myself,
No.
right?
I seriously was like,
therapy.
oh my God, they raped the scene. Like, what is this? I didn't know. I agree. I thought Agu, everything about Agu killed me, but that scene, I was like, first of all, why is she so heavily invested in this little boy? What are they doing to the little boy? And then I realized, I was like, okay. It's like, Tochi, you set me up a couple of times to where I was genuinely afraid to read the next page. Thank you.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot more to talk about, but I'm really pleased. I was pleased with the book, and would you recommend it? Would you recommend that people read this and follow these characters?
Yeah.
I would. Yeah,
I've been
too.
recommending they read his books since I read Beast Made of Night. Like I've been recommending him. I'm gonna recommend him again. I think he has a. I don't know if he has a book coming out in 2020. If he does, I'm gonna post it on Twitter if he does. But I would love more of this. Like, you know, I know in some dark world, maybe he might come look at this later on since he did retweet this, which was awesome. But like, if you want to go ahead and just give us a novella to hold us until the second storyline comes out, I would like it because I need a little bit more. It left me in a place where I just kind of, it was like after everything they went through, after everything this book put those girls through, this is how this book ends. Like,
yeah.
But also I kind of like that it wasn't a happy ending.
Me too. I think it was realistic in that way.
Right. Because I think addressing the effects of what happened to her, I feel like that was like, okay, technically this makes sense. Am I happy that this is the reality? No, but reality is not always what you want it to be. So I accept it now. When I first finished reading it, I was just like, I can't believe we just went through all of that for this. And I went to bed. But I had some time to think about it. And I actually think the ending, I think he did a really good job with the ending. He left me suspenseful way too many times.
Yeah, like, agreed. Totally agreed.
When they escaped from the house, from the moment they escaped from the house to the moment they got through the red zone. Very well written. That was a whole movie scene in itself. And it was just like, go faster, go faster, keep going, don't stop. Oh my God, they're gonna die. They're gonna die. They're not gonna, oh my God, they're gonna die. I thought they were gonna die together. That's how I thought the book was gonna end. I thought they were going to die together and that they were gonna die at the hands of both parties. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
They did it.
Shane said he's gonna read it. Yay! Read them all. Yes. The audiobook for Beast Made of Night is also really good. I forgot who reads it though, but that one is also really good. I didn't listen to the audiobook of Crown of Thunder though. I read that one. I might read that one again. I kind of need a little bit more Tochi right now, so I might read Crown of Thunder again. But do you have anything else? Do you have any endpoints you would like to end on?
No, I'm satisfied. This was a really nice chat, and it's nice to see everybody online as well. Some people that I've never met before, so that's really cool. It was nice talking with you. I loved our chats while we were reading it. I'm on page 2,206. Oh my God, my heart's broken. Like I loved that. So it was so nice buddy reading with you. So I'm looking forward to doing that for the Forgotten Girl. Maybe we can do like a group chat while we all read together.
Yeah, we're going to figure this out because I feel like that would be a fantastic way to just congratulate India, is just to do a big group reading of her book.
Love
that
on.
would be great. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll keep you guys posted. Obviously check the socials. Thank you guys so much for coming out and hanging out with us. And till the next time, we'll see you later. Bye, guys.
Shane is getting thirsty on the chat.
Where? Wait, before Shane I stop this call, wait a minute.
Better.
Shane. Wait, before we end this chat, what does he look like? This is the life that I live. I've never looked at what he looked like. I've always been obsessed with his books.
Tochi also retweeted our invite to this chat. So there's a high probability that Tochi will watch this at some point, Shane. So if you want to shoot your shot.
Pew, 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 shoot that shot. Okay, I'm going to stop now.
Tochi's handsome.
Yes.
Tochi is handsome.
Oh, he was in Jesse's blog?
Wait, does he use he as a pronoun? I think so, yeah.
I haven't, well, I've made the assumption. I think so.
Yeah.
Because
Tochi
in the back
very
of the
nice,
book,
warm smile.
Yeah, it's he. In the back of the book, it's his little Arthur thing. It says he. That's how I find out now. I just look at the Arthur blurb in the back.
Right. Okay, well, Shane,
shoot your shot. Let us know.
Reading all of his books.
Yeah, that's a great conversation starter. Don't go meet him at a book signing. That's creeper. But other than that, shoot your shot. Have fun. Thanks, guys. See you later.
Bye.